Hi, my name's and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, my name is and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, I'm and I'm an alcoholic.
This is the true story of 4 recovering addicts and alcoholics. These are their struggles, hardships, and redemption tales of 2 men and 2 women. These are their realities, their truths, their lives. Listen to their stories while remaining aware that for each of their journeys, there are millions like them that will never know a day of sobriety.
My sobriety date is January 11th of 2013.
September 26, 2016.
October 19th, 2011.
September 25th, 2015. One of the worst and best days of my life.
Was that the last time you took a drink or a drug?
Yes. Do I remember that day? I do remember that day. Yeah. A little blurry.
I got high in the bathroom and my dad approached me and asked me if I was high. I said no, of course.
Threw out my driver's license, my debit card, anything that had my name on it. I then crossed the street again to like a known drug dealing area within our community. And the first person that crossed my path, I asked him if he had heroin. And he told me to get in the car, so I got in the car, and it was my first and last time using heroin.
I was in a Holiday Inn with my mother, just outside of the town that I was going to rehab in. So I woke up that morning, I went into the bathroom, locked the door, turned the shower on, and got high with my mom in the room. She was like knocking for me to hurry up, and I was like, saying I was getting ready. And then we drove to the rehab.
How many times did you find yourself in a situation similar to that?
How did I get here again?
I tried to get sober one time before.
6.
Honestly, I don't know that I could count how many times I found myself in that position.
Similar? It's hard to say.
Do you believe addiction is a disease?
I do. I think I was born an alcoholic.
I do believe that addiction is a disease.
Yes, I do.
Like when you're in it, there is no choice. There's no like, okay, I'm just gonna have this one drink tonight. Because I said that, I don't know, thousands of times. Like tonight's gonna be different. And there I was, 3 days later, I don't know, 100 drinks later, and feeling that emptiness and that sorrow and that despair again.
That's difficult to say, because my interpretation of alcoholism is that I always have a choice, but without a solution in my life, I struggle. I was always able to a certain extent to stop for small periods, but I would become increasingly depressed and anxious and incapable of dealing with emotions in life. So I always went back to it. You could say that's a lack of choice, but if I really had to put a time on it, was when I started IV using heroin, that it really no longer felt like a choice in a sense. Or at least I told myself I still had a choice, but it decreased my ability to choose.
And you're sober today, correct?
I am sober today.
How do you feel about that?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to be sober. I mean, of course, wish that I were like a regular person and could go out and do things like normal people can do.
Have an amazing life. And I love being sober.
When did you lose the choice in drinking or using drugs?
Probably during my freshman year of college.
When I first started using, it was enjoyable. And it wasn't until I was about 19 that I had lost the power to say no.
Have you surrendered to this disease?
I think I have. I am faced with challenges all the time that make me question, have I really surrendered to being an alcoholic? But I actually really love being an alcoholic today. I like calling myself an alcoholic because it makes so much sense. It makes sense. It's such a part of my identity, and I think that I can identify with it and use it for the greater good if I just go with it instead of push it away.
Nothing has burdened my heart or my soul or my life as heavy as that, as heavy as not surrendering. So yeah, I have surrender. I surrender every day, every day I wake up and I literally choose life, because I have that choice today, after surrendering.
Yes, I have. I think that it's not as easy as a 1, 2, 3 surrender. I think you have to surrender to the person you were the day before, even if you weren't using. I think you're always trying to better yourself, or at least I am.
I identify as a grateful recovering alcoholic.
And personally, I think you're predisposed to either have addiction or you don't have it.
That means although I'm an alcoholic, I don't have to drink. That means that every experience that I've had up until even in this very moment, I'm grateful for it happening.
I am definitely an alcoholic, 100%.
I think that the fine line is, when you as an addict finally see your life as becoming unmanageable and not like, I left my phone at home, like my life's unmanageable. I can't really even describe it. I think somebody would have to have that experience for themselves.
I found myself in that position again. The only thing that made sense in my mind in that moment was to end my life, because that was the only way that I could see finding relief, because at that time I thought I had convinced myself that I had tried every way, that I had taken suggestions from people who had done this, who were recovering, I convinced myself that I'd given everything else my best shot and that this was the only way out. So I bought the heroin for the first and, God willing, last time. And I attempted suicide. And clearly didn't work, thank God.
When you think of that sloppy drunk girl, that was me. I was depressed, I was angry, I was fearful, I hated myself. When I would drink, all of that would come out because...
When was the last time you thought about drinking or using drugs?
I would say the other day, I was in a situation at work that drove me absolutely nuts, and I thought to myself, it'd be really nice to have a drink right now. Those thoughts are so fleeting, though. It's like very rare that I'll think that, and when I do, it lasts for a second, and then I'm on to the next. But I'm not going to say that I don't ever think about it because, that's how my brain works. I'm an alcoholic.
Last time I thought about it, in any real way, was this summer, so like June, which would be 5 months prior.
I'd be lying if I said that I never thought about it, this go around at sobriety.
The thought was more so, man, it would be nice to be able to really partake and engage in the experience. So although I'm there,
I think about it, I just don't do it.
I still, in many ways, have one foot outside of the circle. As much as I try to be fully present and engaged, and I do pretty well at it. But yeah, there were times in that trip that I wish that I could.
There's a great separation. There's a great divide between that lifestyle and the life that I'm living today. So although I might think about it, and it's not every day. Some days it's more than others. It's a fleeting thought, because that separation is so great, and because I'm much more in tune with the connection that I have with humanity and the connection that I have with spirituality.
What did your bottom or the lowest point in your life look like?
I was constantly looking over my shoulder because I was trying to keep up appearances, and I was lying to the people that love me. No, I'm fine, you guys. So there was that going on. There was that emptiness that like everything was gray. Everything hurt and everything was gray. I was in so much pain, and I couldn't see any hope. I think that's the best way that I can describe it, is that everything hurt and everything was gray.
I was 20 when I got sober, so I grew up in New York City and I was given everything. So when I got sober, I didn't have a family of my own. I didn't have children. I didn't have a job. So my bottom was an emotional bottom. I didn't really lose anything. But I lost who I was at a time where I hadn't even been given the opportunity. I hadn't given myself the opportunity to know who I was. So I lost someone that wasn't even there. And I was such a broken person when I got sober that it does make a lot of sense as to why my journey has been complicated and not easy.
There I was in that loop, like finding myself there again. And on that day, September 22nd, it wasn't necessarily that, that I had lost the apartment or the friends or the things. It wasn't about that, I just could not see myself going on like I was. It was like a complete emotional, spiritual break. Which now, looking back, I look at it as a breakthrough rather than a breakdown, But yeah, it was that day. That day that everything hurt and everything was gray. Definitely the lowest point in my life.
The day or two prior to the situation I mentioned, where I was in the hotel bathroom before going to detox with my mom, 3 days prior, I had a home invasion by some people that I was dealing with. And so they robbed me and all of my friends, and then the police were called, and they searched my home and found a whole bunch of illicit drugs and paraphernalia, and I was charged with various felonies for drug possession and with intent to distribute. And so that day in particular, that night was my bottom. Sitting there realizing how all of my decisions and behaviors had led up to that point. And I was scared for my freedom. I was scared for my future. It wasn't even necessarily the drug use that, it obviously contributed to me being in that situation, but the feeling of my freedom being taken away and being really scared was my bottom.
I don't totally remember what happened. I also have an addiction to self-harm and self-mutilation, and I was very active in that night. I don't remember what time it was. I think I woke my boyfriend up at, I'd say, like, around midnight, maybe after, maybe before, I don't remember. He called the cops, and they ended up taking me out in handcuffs and putting me in an ambulance and taking me to the hospital.
How has your life changed since you got sober?
I don't need to drink to laugh and have fun, I was so afraid that I would never be able to laugh or smile again. So I went back to school about a year after getting sober. I graduated with my bachelor's in social work. I'm now doing my master's in social work. don't really know if it is what I want to do, but it's the path that I've been placed on. I have a really solid group of friends, not a big group. I never had a lot of friends, but the quality of friendship that I have is so special. I have a boyfriend. Never thought I would have a boyfriend, ever. And he's a great guy. And he loves me for who I am because I'm lovable today. And that's something that has taken a long time to get there. And I'm happy.
My ability to just maintain every day, to get up and go about my life. I found doing much of anything before a struggle. To find a reason to get out of bed in the morning was a struggle. To find motivation to want to really pursue education and pursue a career, I questioned all of it and found it really difficult. Whereas today I don't question a whole lot. I'm just happy to be engaged in life and to participate, and I find joy in it and satisfaction. So my overall mentality and my raised level of motivation and happiness, my ability to express myself is something that is a dramatic change from where I started and where I was before. My ability to honestly communicate with others.
I go to sleep every single night since I've been sober, this time around, knowing that I've done the best that I could that day. May have fallen short, but okay with myself.
I've made amends with my family, which has been huge because I hurt a lot of people in my addiction. A lot of family members, a lot of friends. And the people that were meant to stay in my life have, and I have an amazing group of friends who knew me when I was drinking, who know me now, and I have so much fun with them.
What has changed so dramatically is my perception of life.
I'm slowly putting pieces back together.
It's exciting and it's colorful and it's full of love, and sometimes it's a little sad, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I'm tired, but overall, life is beautiful today.
How do you stay sober today?
So I made a commitment to myself and to the people that have loved me unrelentlessly, and unconditionally, that, I would start choosing life, that I would start choosing to live a lifestyle that was going to add to other people's lives, and, where I could feel good about myself. So that's the first part.
The meetings. I have a sponsor who I love and who guides me in this program. I help other people, and that for me has been the biggest thing, because at my core, it's all about me. It's the daily show, and I need to get out of myself on a daily basis in order to feel good. So doing service, and it doesn't even have to be inside the program, even just, smiling at someone on the street instead of being angry, which is my go-to. Taking women through the steps, going to meetings, like I said, and having faith in God, which has been a tricky one for me. And my concept of God has sort of shifted over the years to something that is so not what I thought it would be.
So you're a member of a 12-step program. That's what you're referencing when you say program.
Yes.
The second part is, when I find myself going through something, I reach out, to people who have been through the recovery process. I stay in touch with, my higher power, which I choose to call love. Yeah, those are really the three things that get me through.
A spiritual connection and the support of family and friends, and trying to still remain of service has helped me stay balanced and get through it.
Even when it was a little bit more tricky, when it wasn't, when it was still like muscle memory to pick up the phone and call a drug dealer, when it was muscle memory to walk to the bar and, pick up a drink. Even back then, I had this drive to, to seek sobriety because, I had seen it in you, and I had seen it in other friends and people I didn't even know, that were going through this process and that were genuinely happy,
So that inspiration helps keep you sober today?
Absolutely.
What's the biggest misconception you feel that the general public has in regards to both addiction and recovery?
There's so many.
It affects a limited portion of the population.
Somebody who used needles, or somebody that didn't shower for a week, or, which I've been there.
Regardless of your income, your education level, family background, race, color, religion, I would say it's pretty evenly distributed throughout our population, regardless of any of those variables.
People that get clean or are involved with the 12-step program are part of a cult, or were brainwashed, or were drinking Kool-Aid or Powerade or lemonade.
Are part of a cult. That's another one.
That one, the people in recovery need to protect themselves past the point where I think that it's really necessary. Although I mentioned that I, have times where I wish that I could drink and partake, at the same time I go and do pretty much whatever I please. I go to music festivals, which are littered with drug usage and drinking, and I'm comfortable and I have fun. I backpack, I travel. So I think that's a stigma that, that we live isolated lives.
Like the why can't you just stop, or why can't you just go out and have a few drinks?
We're hopeless and dirty.
People in recovery are kind of temporarily sober, in the sense that, it's only a matter of time until they relapse again. I'm not going to say that stigma isn't based on nothing. I mean, there is a high level of relapse rate within addiction. It is just a fact, but I think that it's an overgeneralized idea.
That's their entire identity. That's not true.
That you can't necessarily depend on someone who's in recovery because it's only a matter of time. I've heard some people say that just because you're sober, you're still junkie, you lie, you're untrustworthy, so on and so forth.
People who are sober don't have fun and are boring and just go to meetings.
People in recovery will ultimately relapse and, still have the same behaviors.
But the misconception for themselves is that they think that they were more fun when they were using, when the reality is they were passed out on the couch or in some random person's bed. And that's not very fun for anyone.
I will acknowledge, though, I believe that slowly but surely the stigma is being lost, slowly but surely.
What advice would you give to someone who is struggling to get or to stay sober?
I think for me, the biggest issue in getting sober was what other people were going to think. And it's so funny because I was so delusional in thinking that I had myself all put together, and that I was, someone that people wanted to hang out with. Because when I was drinking, I wasn't. No one wanted to hang out with me. I was crazy. But I convinced myself that I wasn't. So, for me getting sober, we could only go up. We weren't going to go down. So my advice would be to forget about image, forget about what you think is being cool, and do what's best for you, because I have more confidence today in myself than I ever thought was even possible for anyone, let alone me. So, hang in there.
Being a recovering alcoholic gives me opportunity.
It's difficult because I don't necessarily have all the answers.
Just stay, and if you decide you want to use or drink, then go out and do so. But I think it's pretty simple. It's as simple as that, really.
First of all, keep the faith. You know, and if there is no faith, like, please, please, please trust that I've been there. Like, I see you, I understand, and it can get better. Reach out. If you're struggling, please reach out. Because somebody somewhere has been through it and has gotten through it and is standing on the other side. The only thing that they want to do is help other people get to the other side. Like, I can promise that. I'm one of those people, and there are, I could probably say, at least a few thousand other people, you know, within especially our community, you know, that are standing there filled with faith.
Give it a try. Because if you have a little bit of faith, you will have an amazing life.
You know, there is a much better life out there. It takes work. It takes, you know, it takes a lot of work. But it's worth it because, you know, the peace and the serenity and the connection that I found today has been worth it. You know, it's been worth it.
Do you think getting sober is a life or death ultimatum?
100%. I know so many people who have died from alcoholism and drug addiction. I have family members who have died.
Yeah.
For me, yes, I do.
Me too.
It's a life or death thing. It's scary. The beautiful thing is that we have a solution. And sobriety is attainable for anyone that wants it.
In my recovery, I'm a soldier at war.
I am an alcoholic, and I am not ashamed.
I'm an alcoholic, and I am not ashamed.
I am an addict, and I am not ashamed.
I am an addict and an alcoholic, and I am not ashamed. I am not ashamed.
This is dedicated to all those who will never find peace in their addiction to drugs and alcohol. To all those who will die today, tomorrow, and the next. To all those that are sick and suffering without a solution.
And I can hear the phone, it keeps on ringing. I don't wanna answer.